fellow Trek Chatters, I'm Pit Trekkie, and welcome to another episode of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. So for this episode, I'm recording here from my private practice office. Haven't been able to be in the home recently because of work. So in today's episode, what I would like to talk about is some basic announcement that came out about Star Trek Prodigy just a few days ago. So on Monday, June 14th, Paramount Plus released the first images and descriptions of the 6 alien characters that are going to be in Star Trek Prodigy. So now we know the races, the names, the ages, some of where these characters are from, and who's going to be the voice talent for these characters. So why don't we go ahead and just get started in discussing these characters. So the first character that I'm going to discuss is named Gwyn, as she is age 17 years old and is from a race known as the Val Nakat. And remember, this show takes place in the Delta Quadrant, so this is going to be a new alien race that we don't know about yet in the Star Trek universe. So basically the description for this character is she was raised on her father's mining planet, dreaming of exploring space. So we're going to have kind of like a Renee Picard almost, where we're dreaming about adventure out in space, exploring something more than what she's had. So the actress who's going to be voicing this character is Ella Perel. So where you can learn where this actress has been is, I guess she's been on a couple of shows, including Netflix's Army of the Dead and Star's TV program Sweet Bitter. The next character that I'm going to discuss is named Doll, and this character is also age 17 years, but is from an unknown race. So that's kind of interesting that we don't know anything about the race of this character at all. So basically what Doll thinks is that he thinks he is a type of maverick who holds on to unwavering hope even in the toughest of times. The actor who is going to be voicing this character is named Brett Gray. This actor is currently on a show on Netflix called On My Block. So go ahead, if you want to check out who's going to be voicing this character, head on over to Netflix and check out On My Block and see if you can find out who's going to be the voice actor. The next character who is going to be on this show is named Murph. Now this one is the one who's most interesting to me at this point, I think to a lot of people, because this is going to be the cute character of this show. So this is also another character whose race is unknown, but also the age is unknown at this point. And the description for Murph is an endearing, indestructible blob with curiously good timing and an insatiable appetite for ship parts. The actor who is going to be voicing this character is D. Bradley Baker. So D. Bradley Baker is known to fans for voiceovers on SpongeBob SquarePants and Dora the Explorer, but is mostly well known to science fiction fans as the voice of all of the clone troopers in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and currently Star Wars: The Bad Batch. So I think this is going to be very interesting to see how Murph sounds and how different Murph sounds from the clone troopers in the Star Wars universe. The next character that I'm going to discuss is named Jankum Pog. So this character is 16 years old and is a Tellarite. So we're going to have our very first regular Tellarite cast member in any Star Trek series. And the description for Jankum Pog is that he loves a good argument. Well, he's a Tellarite, go figure, right? But will play devil's advocate for the sake of hearing all sides. So this will be a very interesting Tellarite character to hear about, because even though this one loves a good argument, this one also likes to hear the both sides of the story. So a little different from what we're used to from past Tellarites. The actor who is going to be voicing this character is named Jason Mantzoukas. So we see him both in live action shows and also in voiceovers for animated series. So he has been seen on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Good Place, and a TV show called The League. He's also been a voice actor in different shows, including Big Mouth, Invincible, and American Dad. The next character that we're going to discuss is named Zero. This was the character that in initial pictures was thought of as a robot. Turns out he's not a robot. He's actually from the Medusan race. From the original series Star Trek episode, Is There in Truth No Beauty? So this Medusan is actually being hosted inside a robot body. The age of this Medusan is unknown. Really, there's not much of a description about Zero, just that he wears a containment suit to protect those around him. And maybe I shouldn't even be saying he, because really at this point we don't know if this character is male, female, or androgynous. We don't know at this point. The last character of the 6 juvenile characters that are going to be discussed here is a character named Rope Talk. And this character is 8 years old and is from a race called the Brakar. The description for this character is that the character is a bit shy but loves animals. So that's really all we've got about this character right now. It's actually going to be, this person is going to be voiced by a 10-year-old female, so an actual child, named Riley Alazraqui. I don't know how to pronounce that. Alazraqui. What it says here in my notes is that this actress has been on shows including Doug Unplugs and Home Economics. So there are your 6 primary alien characters for Prodigy. And of course, we all know that Kate Mulgrew is coming back to voice the emergency hologram Captain Janeway. Is it I can't remember what's the name of it. Emergency Command hologram? I can't remember. So here's some basic thoughts that I'm having about these characters for Prodigy. So I've kind of always believed since the very beginning, then they showed that very first cast picture, that Gwen and Dahl were going to be the leaders of this series. And that's still the feeling that I get for that. And basically, they are the oldest characters on the series. They're both the same age, okay? And they appear to have personalities that are going to mix together very well. Think about it. You've got Gwen, who's got all these goals and dreams of aspirations of exploring space, getting into space. And then you have Dahl, who has a curiosity and an unwavering hope. Well, what for different situations? Well, it's the perfect mixture of 2 leaders of a group of people. You know, you've got the desire to want to be more than what these characters are. And really all we know about these characters right now is that they're basically juvenile delinquents. You know, when the series starts, they are actually in a prison colony in the Delta Quadrant. And they end up finding this ship. You know, so you got hope mixed with a desire to explore space, and I really believe that that's going to turn into an insatiable desire to become better than they are, and that will spread on to the other characters that are going to be in this series. Definitely, Murph is the baby Yoda of Star Trek Prodigy. You know, the character is going to be the cute one that everybody's going to be like, oh, it's so cute, so adorable. I can see this character taking off, and if this character does take off with the younger crowd, Paramount Plus is going to market the living daylights out of this character. You're going to see Murph action figures, you're going to see Murph stuffed toys, you're going to be seeing Murph animatronics going all over the place. You're probably going to even see Murph slime at some point in a jar. Think about it. Remember, I'm 40 years old, so I'm sure many of you guys in my age bracket, I was born in 1980, remember when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were out. Don't you remember that the plastic jar of mutagen that you could play with? It had the little turtle inside of it and the goo that you could play with. I guarantee you that's something that's going to happen. And I'm a therapist, especially I work mostly with child and adolescent consumers. And one of the big things that people have enjoyed in the last couple of years is making slime as a coping skill. Guaranteed you're going to see Murph being used as a coping skill by some of these people. It's going to drive parents nuts, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really hoping this show and this character takes off so we can actually see that, hopefully that merchandise that can come from it. Also about this show, I love the idea that new races are being created. So out of the 6 new characters there are 3 from new races. However, only one of them has been named. So Gwyn is from the race called Val Nakat. All right. Dahl and Murph are unknown races in the Delta Quadrant. So it's going to be very interesting. We're going to have 3 new races that are basically being started from scratch. But Gwyn may have the most detail at the beginning of the show in terms of the race that she comes from. Because we have the name, so that means that she probably has some idea about what her species is all about. However, Dahl and Murph may not have any idea what their race is. They might have been born on this penal planet. We don't know. Or maybe they were, born to parents who had already left their home worlds and never really knew their races. So when we hear that they're unknown, that literally might be it, that they are unknown to, they have no idea about their races. So that's going to basically create everything from scratch. So just like we're going to have to learn about these races from scratch, they might have to as well. Or maybe they do know what races they're from and are choosing to keep it secret for some reason. So there's going to be a lot of fun learning about these characters and about their races and about where they come from. That's going to be very interesting for this series. Rock Talk is the first Brakar shown in the Star Trek universe, at least on TV. Now, the Brakar was a race from the Star Trek: The Next Generation. I guess they were Star Trek New Frontier novels, and I remember those from the late '90s and the end of the 2000s when I was in high school and going on to college. So there was a character that was a Brakar. That was a character on, I guess, the USS Excalibur, which was commanded by Captain Mackenzie Calhoun. The character's name was Zach Kebron. So obviously the novels are not considered canon in Star Trek material, but now this race will be canonized. So it'll be interesting to see if they pull anything from the novels, how much they pull from the novels, and how much these writers and creators are going to make on their own for this race, and how this new character who is going to develop, who is actually the youngest of the characters as we know right now. So that would be very interesting. Now, here's where my question marks start forming in my brain. The 3 characters that are kind of like, aren't making really any sense to me yet. So yes, the Brakar is one of them, okay? But obviously, if the Brakar are serving in Starfleet, then this race was from the Alpha or Beta Quadrant. It's the same thing with, what are their names again? I'm always forgetting the names. Jankum Pog and Zero. They are from Alpha or Beta Quadrant races. I mean, Pog is a Tellarite, and Zero is a Medusan. So, again, we were told that this show takes place in the Delta Quadrant. So, how on earth did a Tellarite, a Medusan, and a Brakar get all the way to the Delta Quadrant? Very interesting questions. Now, I could maybe take some creative license with Zero. We don't know a whole lot about the Medusans. All we learned about in the episode Is There in Truth No Beauty is that they're good navigators and that they're non-corporeal. But the sight of them is so ugly and repulsive that it makes humanoid life go mad. And that's what happened with Lawrence Marvick when he saw Ambassador Kolos, went mad, did something to the Enterprise's engines, and sent it hurtling, I guess, to the void or into the Great Barrier. I don't know what that area was. And they weren't able to get back, so they used Kolos by entering Spock's body to bring the Enterprise home because of the navigation skills. So that's really all we know about the Medusans. So quite possibly, the Medusans have the ability to transport themselves over vast distances very quickly. So the Medusans could be all over the galaxy. We don't know. The Tellarite, I'm very confused on. That one doesn't make any sense to me. Clearly, the Tellarites are a founding member of the Federation. So how did a Tellarite get all the way to the Delta Quadrant? So maybe there's an explanation for it. Now, here's what I'm a little concerned about. And a lot of times the current writers and creators of Star Trek make me a little nervous when it comes to Star Trek canon and continuity. All right? So they might have just said, oh, well, we have the Tellarites here. We've never had a Tellarite character before. Let's just put a Tellarite in there, without realizing that they can't be in the Delta Quadrant unless there's some sort of reason that they're there. But why would a Tellarite youth be in the Delta Quadrant? It's just not making sense to me. Now, when the cast pictures first came out, people seemed to think that maybe this character was a Talaxian. That would make a whole heck of a lot more sense. It would have been awesome to have a young Talaxian to help us to learn maybe a little bit more about Talaxian culture that we didn't get in Voyager with Neelix. You know, basically all we know about the Talaxians is that they were conquered, and you know, there was the Metreon Cascade that Jetrel invented and was released on the moon Rhinax, and really basically their death rituals from Voyager. But really beyond that, we haven't learned much else about Talaxian culture. You know, this could have been a really good opportunity to learn more about it, but we're being told it's a Tellarite, so fingers crossed that there's a legitimate reason why an Alpha Quadrant Tellarite is in the Delta Quadrant in this series. So basically, that's it for the descriptions of the characters and some of what my thoughts on them are. So the basic premise of Star Trek Prodigy, we learned from Kate Mulgrew herself. There was, on May 14th, there was an interview that came out with her. And basically what she said was, this Prodigy takes place 5 years after Voyager returned home, and it's in the Delta Quadrant. So this is her actual description. These are her words. But in Prodigy, this new animated series, 5 kids are incarcerated on an obscure planet in an uncharted part of the galaxy. And they escaped from their imprisonment and race across the planet to find a defunct starship buried in the sand of the planet's surface. They go in, and of course the prison guards are coming after them. And they can't get it up, and the shields won't run, or the thing won't do. And suddenly somebody hits a button, and hologram startup sound. Hello kids, I see you're a little bit stuck here. Can I help you out? And it's Captain Janeway in a holographic form. So that brings some questions about this ship and this emergency hologram of Captain Janeway. How was this ship lost? So if it has a Captain Janeway hologram, then this ship clearly had to have been invented by the Voyager crew for some reason, but we don't know yet what that reason was. So why was the ship created? When was it created? When during the 7 years of Voyager being in the Delta Quadrant did the crew decide to create this ship? Was it before the Delta Flyer? Was it after the Delta Flyer? All we know is that they created the Delta Flyer. So what ship is this, and what purpose did it serve? And how and why did this ship get left behind? That's very interesting to me, because Captain Janeway was always very protective of Starfleet technology. Think of the whole second season Kazon Nistrum story arc. The fact that the Kazon Nistrum wanted to steal Voyager for its technology, starting with the episode Alliance and culminating in Basics Part 2. You know, and at one point in the episode where Kurt Bandera dies, I believe it was called Alliances. The one where before that was called Maneuvers. So when Kurt Bandera dies, Janeway says to Hogan, I will destroy this vessel before I have any part of it being handed over to the Kazon. I'm just paraphrasing it to that degree. And so basically, even in Basics Part 1, Janeway was going to destroy Voyager rather than it be taken over by the Kazon, which ended up not working because it was offline. But I guess there's also a little bit of looseness with that as well, the technology, because of the Killing Game Part 1 and 2 in Voyager's 4th season. Janeway gave holographic technology to the Hirogen, which I never understood. It didn't make sense to me, but she did it hoping that they would create holograms to hunt rather than live beings. And of course that got perverted in Flesh and Blood in the 7th season episodes, that two-parter with the Hirogen, where the holograms basically rose up against the Hirogen and started fighting back. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the whole purpose of this ship to begin with and why it was created. I will also say that the animation for this show, based on the pictures that we've been given by Paramount Plus, appear amazing. It looks right up on par to me with Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and Star Wars The Bad Batch. You know, so I hope it's not some cheap little animation show that you see with a lot of kids shows of today's generation. A lot of them look cheaply made and like garbage. This does not look like that. The level of detail to the characters and the vibrant colors, I think it's going to be very visually stunning and enticing. Not just for the kids, that's a big marketing area for this show, but also for the older fans of Star Trek. So basically, those are just my thoughts on Prodigy. What do you guys think about the cast, the voice cast, the choice of characters, the alien races, Captain Janeway coming back in holographic form, and the thought about why this ship was built and why was it left behind? Some very interesting questions. I would like to hear what all of you have to say. So basically what you can do is you can follow the show, go onto YouTube, type in Pittsburgh's Trek Chat in the search engine, and the show will come up, my channel. You can also follow the show on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. You can also follow the show on Twitter at PGH Trek Chat. I also have a podcast I do with a fellow Trekkie that may be touching on this in the near future based on when Prodigy is actually announced. But the name of my podcast is Captain's Logs and Lightsabers, and it is on Geek News Now. Just go to www.geeknewsnow.net. You'll be able to access the podcasts. The show basically talks about Star Trek and Star Wars and the similarities between the two products. We talk about some differences as well, because obviously they're there. But if you're interested in listening to a longtime Star Trek fan and a longtime Star Wars fan geeking out and comparing their favorite franchises, then give us a check, comment, and let us know what you think. So that's it for this episode of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. Until the next time, may you live long and prosper.